Hey everybody, it's Old Chaplain V. Today we're going to be looking at step number 6 of the 12-step spirituality program. We're entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character. Well, how's God going to do that? Well, my sponsor said it best. He says God's going to arrange our circumstances to where we're going to be exposed to what's our reaction has always been, our mindsets, those things that are deep inside us that have caused us to have trouble in our relationships with people. Selfishness is the core, ego is the driver. And it's not that we're going to change our behavior so much, it's that we're going to reflect on what's causing our behavior. The pride and the lust and the greed and the anger, those things that cause us to lie and cheat and steal and all that, but not as a negative thing. The truth hurts, but the truth will set us free. And so, how do we know that, God chastises those whom he loves, those who he calls his own? I think that means those that have had a spiritual awakening. God's working with us. How do we know that God's working with us? Well, God is kind of guiding us to be more concerned about people that, outside our selfishness, our neighbor, somebody down the street, somebody that we used to argue with, we're more patient with. We might even be doing volunteer work. That's evidence that God's already working with us, but he also wants to cleanse us from the inside. And that's where this many are the troubles of the just man. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. So, unfortunately, success kind of feeds the ego. And so sometimes people can be very church-going. They can pray to God. They can be thankful for their blessings. Not a whole lot of purification going on. Some people aren't entirely ready. They're just happy that they're not having problems. Who did Jesus hang around with? The people that were, despised, and the lepers, and, the tax collectors, and those outside the law. So, as high as the stars are above the earth are God's thoughts about our thoughts above our thoughts. But the Lord said, love one another as I have loved you. And he's going to be guiding us to not only be of service, but he's also going to help us to see those things that are keeping us from doing that. And that's steps 6 and 7. Well, God bless you, everybody. Thank you for watching. We'll be back with more then on step number 6.